Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Realm of History. Got a special live review tonight, Chapter 13 Chivalry, Feudalism, Key Powers of the Church, European Middle Ages or Medieval Time Period. That's what we're looking into tonight. Got a couple of things coming for you, got a couple of surprises. We do have to get in a tiebreaker tonight. We had huge tie in the review game today, and one group would have tied but got disqualified. That rhymes. Sign of weakness. Hey, if you're enjoying these live reviews or getting something out of them, make sure you hit the like button. And of course, please subscribe if they're helpful to you. Now, let's get into the comments. Let me know that you're here. Give me a shout out. Help me out there. Literally like to see that you are attending, and hopefully these are helping you out. Get ready for the quiz. Here's our agenda tonight. What we're going to be doing, we haven't done one in a while, so we'll take some key advice right off the bat. We'll do the tiebreaker. We'll go into some key terms, and I'm going to be going over a lot of the key figures. I may not be able to pull them up on the screen. It takes me a really long time to input that, but I had a lot of people questioning about, hey, can I go over the key figures? So I will do that today. It just won't be in the normal format. I have a quick insight on the AP info, and then we'll finish up with question and answer session. So let's get right in to our key advice. Like I said, it's been a while since we've done a live review. Number one thing, study your outlines, right? You take all these great notes. I see all the notes. You're doing a wonderful job there, but please make sure that you read them several times through to make sure you're ready for the quiz. And don't forget, hey, don't forget about those printed notes from section number 1. I also want to make sure you get your review sheet done. It's a little bit lengthy, I understand that, but it's a big quiz. So you want to make sure that you have everything ready to go for tomorrow's assessment. Use your review sheet to quiz yourself to make sure that you're ready. Now, number 2, I think this is really important. I say this almost every single time, but pray for the right things, right? There's so many people in the world right now going through things that are far greater troubles than our quiz tomorrow. So make sure that rather than asking for prayers for yourself, but pray for the health and safety of your family, for your loved ones. Say thank you to the good Lord for all the talents and blessings that you have. We're in such a great shape, right? We are worried about a quiz for tomorrow where other people are worried about what they're going to eat and how they're going to get food. So I think you're in a really good spot, and just make sure that you're saying the prayer of gratitude and ask the good Lord for guidance. Use your talents to the fullest on this and any assessment that you may have. Third is be here now. That's our motto, right? That's our motto of the Realm family. Be here now. Make sure that you're focusing on the task at hand. Tomorrow, when you enter the room, pop in World History, Chapter 13, Europe, Middle Ages, Chivalry, so on and so forth. Number 4, make sure you say thank you to your parents. I mean, you're really blessed, and to be in the situation that you are, going to a great school like St. Mary's, a lot of that has to do with your parents and the sacrifices that they've made for you. So if you need to stop the video right now and go say thank you to them, please do. But before you go to bed, go tell your parents thank you and make sure you express that gratitude. Finally, hey, meet the challenge, right? Challenges are good. We need to look at it that way. We're not getting any better. We're not getting any stronger as a student if we don't challenge ourselves. My goal is to challenge you every week. So hopefully this will be another challenge for you on tomorrow's quiz. So make sure that you rise to the occasion. Don't be a Skipper McGee, right? Don't be a Skipper McGee. That's the worst thing you could do, is shy away from the challenge. Okay, we do need to break the tie. I have a special guest who's been really wanting to help out with this, with the live reviews. Come on in, Ella. Okay, so the plan that we have, come on in. You want to say hello?
Hi.
Well, you want to say good luck?
Good luck, guys.
Okay, good luck on what?
On your quiz.
That's right. You said it right. Okay, now I have a ticket with Fifth Hour. Ella, get the candy corn bowl. Got a ticket with Fifth Hour. We got a ticket for Seventh Hour, and we've got a ticket for Eighth Hour, right? Those are the 3 girls' classes that tied. The boys, they got disqualified. They got the crew. You know what the crew is? They had to pick up papers. All right. So here, I'm going to put these into the bowl. Ella's going to pick one, and she can announce who is the big winner. Let's shake them up here, Ella. Now, don't cheat. Who you hoping wins?
8th hour.
8th hour? Why 8th hour?
Because I'm about to turn 8.
Because you're about to turn 8? Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Go ahead and pick one. And read it out loud.
5th hour.
Fifth hour is the big winner. So fifth hour +1 breaking the tie. All right, thanks, Ella, honey. Love you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So fifth hour is the big winner. Fifth hour is going to get +1 tomorrow on the quiz. I don't know if they've won yet. So, hey, maybe that's a good thing. Congratulations to fifth hour. Hopefully there aren't any wanted posters for me tomorrow going around the school, but we'll see what happens. There's many gangs being formed. Leaf Gang, Tie Gang. I can't keep track of them anymore. All right. Next, we are going to get into the key terms and the key figures, starting with the Treaty of Verdun. Treaty of Verdun was created in 843, and it basically ended a civil war between the three sons of Louis the Pious. That was Charlemagne's son. So it was Charlemagne's grandsons who were fighting over the Frankish Empire. The problem is Louis the Pious, he did not want to give all of his reign to his oldest son. We see this as very problematic throughout history, right? So the three sons began to fight. The Treaty of Verdun divided the Frankish Empire into three separate entities. Next is a feudal term called fief. A fief is a grant of land, usually from a lord to a vassal, right? Lord grants land to knights, kings grant land to nobles. So that's kind of the situation of feudalism. So fief was a grant of land. Now, the lord is the landowner, the person who usually grants the land, and it also is the person who receives the land from the king. Then we have a vassal. Vassal is the person who receives the land. So if a knight was getting land from a lord, the knight would be the vassal, right? And there's certain obligations and loyalties that must be given to the person giving you land. So if you're a knight, you have to provide military service for the lord, for example. All right, moving on down our list, we want to take a look at questions today came to me about the tithes. Tithes are church taxes, right? So what serfs and peasants and lords and nobles and knights were expected to do is pay 10% of their income to the church. That'd be 1/10, right? So 1/10 or 10% of their overall income had to be given to the church. Usually it was paid in the form of crops that were grown on farms or gardens. Sometimes it was coins, sometimes it was paper money, but it's mostly in the form of crops. Okay, what was a manor? A manor was the Lord's estate. It's the land that was granted to the Lord. And this is also the place where there were villages of serfs that worked on the Lord's land. We talked a lot about knights in this chapter. Knights fought in what are called tournaments, right? They're like mock battles. Knights would gain training from it. They're very dangerous. They were very, very brutal. A lot of bloodshed, okay? A lot of injuries, sometimes death. So there are a lot of knights would get hurt during these. One key concept that came into play in section 4 was the Holy Roman Empire. Let's talk about this. This was kind of a combination of Germanic regions and Italian regions. Started really by Otto the Great, even though Charlemagne before Otto was the first Holy Roman Emperor. The concept of the Holy Roman Empire was coming in a little bit later under Otto the Great. This was a combination of the Germanic kingdoms and the Catholic Church. Today we had a question on our live review on our review game about canon law. Canon law is church law, regulated things like marriage and religious practices. One of the problems that arose in section 4 was something called lay investiture, right? This is where kings and nobles were appointing church officials, such as bishops. This is what caused the major issue between Henry IV, emperor, and Pope Gregory IV, right? They went at it over the showdown at Canossa, over lay investiture. What should it be allowed or not? Next, one of the questions that not a lot of people were able to get today was about the interdict. This is where the Pope will ban sacraments from being administered in an entire region. This is usually to punish a king. So what would happen is the Pope would say, we're going to impose the interdict on England. No sacraments can be administered. You cannot administer sacraments in England. So all the Catholic priests and all the bishops would not be able to give communion or baptize or marry anybody until the king admitted that they were wrong or kind of was overthrown the people would be very mad because they understand that the sacraments are the way to heaven, right? And so they would take this out on the king. The king would generally have to ask the Pope for forgiveness. So the interdict was a very powerful tool that the church could use. Then we have something called excommunication. Excommunication is banishment from membership in the church. This meant if you were excommunicated, you could no longer receive the sacrament. So you as an individual could no longer receive the sacraments. Okay, now we're going to get into some of the key terms. Like I say, it takes me a really long time to input all of this that comes up on the screen. So the questions came to me today, and I didn't have enough time to actually input all of it. It takes hours to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my review sheet and talk to you about a lot of the key figures. I do have Clovis locked in. Clovis was the ruler of the Franks that united them into a kingdom and brought Christianity to the Franks as well. We also had Charlemagne. Charlemagne was a Carolingian empire that was crowned by Pope Leo III, and he reunited Europe into an empire. He created an empire almost the size of old Rome and spread Christianity, leading a revival of education as well. Okay, so now we're going to get to the point where I won't be able to pull them up on the screen, but I'm going to talk about some more of the key figures, okay? So next on the sheet is Charles Martel. We take a look at Charles Martel on the slideshow today. And on the slideshow, Charles Martel won the Battle of Tours, right? This was where there was an invasion by the Muslims, and Charles Martel and the Franks defeated that invasion. It was really a monumental win for Christianity. Next on the list is Pepin the Short. Pepin the Short was Charles Martel's son. A lot of times they didn't have surnames, so they went by characteristics like Pepin. He was pretty short, so they called him Pepin the Short. Or they had a guy named Charles the Bald, right? That was one of the grandsons that fought during the Treaty of Verdun. They called him Charles the Bald. There were a lot of people called Charles, right? But he was bald, and so that sort of defined him. Next is Pope Gregory I. Pope Gregory I was one that expanded papal power. He's one of the first to really embrace the secular role, the non-religious role. He got involved in world politics and things that we generally didn't see popes getting involved in before. Okay, next we have Louis the Pious. Louis the Pious was the son of Charlemagne. Now, the word pious means very religious. So he was known to be a very religious, faithful person. He had trouble when he was about to die. He did not want to give his empire to his oldest son. He felt bad for the other sons, so he tried to divide it between the three. What happens? They fight over it, right? It's generally a mistake not to give your empire to your oldest son. It almost always leads to civil war and infighting. We've seen it several times in history already. Yaroslav the Wise, right? Think about that. Next, we have Henry IV. Henry IV is the emperor. There's two Henry IVs. One was the King of England. He married Eleanor of Aquitaine. Second Henry was the one that got in the showdown with Pope Gregory. Then we have Eleanor of Aquitaine. She was the most celebrated woman of the Middle Ages. Many people wanted to marry her because by marrying her, you gain the territory known as Aquitaine, which was located in France. So we know that land was power back then. And a lot of these kings and princes and other popular male figures wanted to marry Eleanor to gain that power and wealth. Okay, next is Pope Leo III. Pope Leo III was a famous pope, and one of the things that he did is he crowned Charlemagne the Holy Roman Emperor. So it's kind of the first combination of church and state working together. We saw that in this chapter. Leif Erikson, we talked about him being a famous Viking explorer. Many historians believe that he may have reached Newfoundland, which is Canada. So they think that he may have landed in the Americas or North American soil about 1,000 years before Columbus. So during the 400s and 500s. Finally, we have Benedict and Scholastica. We talked about them quite a bit today. They were the brother and sister twins that were separated at birth, and eventually both became leaders of monasteries and convents, and they met up later in life to understand that they were twins and that they both ended up in the same position in the church. Okay, that is our talk about the key terms. And I just went through almost all of the key figures for you. So we should be in pretty good shape there. Before I go into the question and comments, I do want to do some AP tips. Okay. Tomorrow's AP portion, as I said in class today, is going to be basically 3 MCQs, right? The 3 MCQs will be based on an image. So the prompt or the document is actually an image in this case. So what you're going to need to be able to do is evaluate the image and then know what you read in AMSCO and relate the two together. The most important page of AMSCO to focus on for this series of questions is page 54, which focuses on the manorial system in AMSCO and the description of feudalism. Okay, so tomorrow's image and the questions will be related to the manor system or the manorial system, which is talked about on page 54 of AMSCO, and feudalism, right? So that's going to be the biggest tip that I can give you is make sure you understand not only the whole reading of AMSCO, not only everything we learned in the notes and the content, but especially page 54. So if you're doing the reading, I would say focus on the front end of the AMSCO reading. I did tell you that topic 1.6 is also going to be what we will be focusing on for chapter 14 as well. So the latter part of the AMSCO reading, the later pages, the higher page numbers will be more conducive to chapter 14. But I figure if you've read it already, bam, all you got to do is review for the next chapter. Okay, now I'm going to go to the question and answer session. I'm going to go to the comments. Hopefully you have let me know that you are all here. Appreciate it. All right, we got a couple people already saying that they were cheated out of the point and that they weren't disqualified. But boy, that third hour was being pretty bad today, I'll tell you. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I really do appreciate it. All right, we got a question on Pope Gregory I. So Pope Gregory I really expanded the power of the popes, the papacy or the pope's office, and he was really one that embraced the secular role. So he got involved in world politics, like repairing roads, raising armies, using those armies to help the Germanic kingdoms, so on and so forth. So that's Pope Gregory. Right now, it's somebody close to home for you, Master Darius. Yeah, crew captain. So there'll be 3 MCQs based off of 1 image. Okay. All right, good question. Merovingian and Carolingian dynasties, right? Merovingian dynasty starts with Clovis. Then it goes to people like Clodomir, Theodoric. I wouldn't focus too much on the Merovingian dynasty, more so on the Carolingian dynasty, right? Carolingian dynasty has Charles Martel, Pepin the Short, Charlemagne, Louis the Pious, and then his 3 sons, which were Lothair, Charles the Bald, and Louis the German. Sound like gangster names, right? But knowing the progression of the Carolingian dynasty, especially Clovis from the Merovingian, all right, but in the Carolingian, focusing on Charles Martel, Charlemagne, right? Those are the 2 big figures from those. Leah, I wouldn't get too confused on it. I scoured through the quiz, and yes, they are very similar time periods, not too different, but there's very few questions that even mention the Henrys on the quiz. I'm looking at it again right now. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be something to really stress on, but very similar time frame. Okay. As far as the future conflicts, here it's more about his crowning of Charlemagne, which represented a combination of Germanic kingdom and the Catholic Church. That's the big picture idea. So remember, what I said today in class is that there's going to be short answer questions. They're going to be on the AP portion. They're not AP style questions. They're only short answer questions. They're going to be big picture topics of what we focused on from the chapter. You know what one of them is already, which is the feudal pyramid, right? So there you have it. You need to know both. You need to know both of those elements there. I know that that could be difficult, but yes, you need to know Charles Martel, what he did, Charlemagne, what he did. The others, I mean, Pepin really didn't talk about much of what he did. It's not as important as what people like Charles Martel and Charlemagne did. So it's more so like knowing the key characters. But in order to understand the progression, you have to include the people in between, right? So, yes, knowing the progression and then knowing Charles Martel, what he did, Charlemagne, what he did, I think is the most important thing to do. Okay, we've got plenty of time for other questions. Please feel free if you have questions to ask. I am here to help. I really appreciate all of you attending. A little low on the numbers today. Not very many folks joined up. We started the year, we had about 100. And now, right now, we had 50, and then we're at 42. So, hey, KG guy, my day was great. Most of my days are awesome. I love my job and really do love my students. I have a really good group of students this year, very bright, mostly well behaved, which I do appreciate. Today, a couple hours got a little bit silly, but I don't think that's going to last for too long. Hope you had a good day as well, sir. All right. Should we know the 3 points of chivalry? Yes. Yes. You want to know the 3 masters that knights in following the chivalric code had to follow. Yes. I think that that would be very important. Question here for Benedict and Scholastica is all we need to know is that they were twins who influenced monasteries. Yeah. Their influence on monasteries was the biggest deal. Like, they wrote the rule books on how monasteries are supposed to be run. And everybody that kind of ran monasteries, they're called abbots. Everybody who kind of ran monasteries after reading their books kind of did it in that fashion. So, yeah, that's what's most important there. What key battles should we know? There's really 2 key battles. There's the Battle of Tours, Michael, which was 732. That's the Franks versus the Muslims. You talked about it today. And then there's the Battle of Tolbiac, which you don't need to know the date. It's during Clovis's time, late 400s. And it was basically what caused Clovis to convert to Christianity. Got some wild, outlandish comments coming onto the board here. Yeah, Gabby. Benedict is more popular mostly because he's a male. But yes, Scholastica also wrote manuals on how to run convents. It's just that, unfortunately, in this time period in history, more prestige was given to men. As we learned, women were seen as inferior during this time. So that was the big issue there. I think 732 is a big one, the Battle of Tours, but like I say, on my quizzes, you're not going to see like anything asking you like, oh, what happened in 732? Like, you won't see that on my quizzes. The AP part, it's important to know events in chronological order. You need to know the time periods in which things happen, right? So that you can get the questions right, like for context on our DBQs. But as far as my quiz, like, I don't think any exact dates are going to make or break you tomorrow. The book says Christians were treated poorly by who? Give me some reference, Amelia, there in the next comment, and maybe I can help you there. If you're talking about Christians being treated poorly in the Frankish Empire, that's not true. Yeah, I mean, like the empires that we're learning about in Europe, if you were Christian in those regions that were Christian, you weren't treated poorly. So I'm not quite sure what the reference point is there. Yeah, because I told you to study that page. I think it's 366. So yeah, you're going to need to have to explain like what type of weapons were used, what are siege tactics, why were they necessary? Like everything that's on that page is going to be important. Yes. Yes, I definitely made it a point to say study that page, and I said to write that in your notes for sure. Yes, of course, that's in the notes. Page, Squire, Knight. Yep, 100%. Anything that's in the notes, you should know for sure. She wants to be, and she would like to, but she just got to stay up late. That's all tonight. So no, usually she's in bed by this time. But she thinks she's on TV. Like she'll tell me, "Oh, I was on TV. How can we watch it?" Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. All right, I'm waiting for Amelia to come back with a reference point. So I'll hang on for a minute or two more. Are there any other key questions, ladies and gentlemen, that I can help you with? Once again, if you're finding these helpful, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Really would appreciate that. I'm almost to 1,000 followers. That's kind of been a goal of mine for about 5 to 6 years now, to be honest with you. So I'm trying to get to that number. I'd be really happy if you could help me do that. We're close. We're at 977, I think. So I'd like to hit that number and be, not that I'm going to get paid or anything, but just kind of a goal that you have, you know. All right. I haven't seen any questions for about 2 minutes. So I think that we can wrap it up. Of course, if you have further questions, you can always email me and I'll do my best to answer those. Or you can come see me in the morning. You know, I don't have first hour, so I'm not usually in a huge rush, but I will, of course, do my best to help you. Best I can say is read page 54 of AMSCO, but the manorial system is basically what we learned about on how like lords had to provide serfs with housing and protection and farmland for food. And then the serfs had to provide the lords with work and loyalty and labor on the manor. That's the basic idea there, Gabby the Gabby. Okay. Yeah, I'm bummed because I wasn't quite sure where you're going with that. But if you find it, email me or come ask me in the morning. I usually see you guys. You're at, I think, right across the hall. So if you want to stop in, if you find it, I have no problem with helping you out. Okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody for joining. I really do appreciate you. I wish you the best tomorrow. And don't forget about I just saw the question come in, the AP registration forms. Those are due Friday. You turn it into Miss Linda Costco's office, which is the main office in the prep building. Hey, I want you to have a great night. Don't forget to pray for the right things. Be here now. Say thank you to your parents and say the prayer of gratitude. God bless all of you. And hey, much love. See you tomorrow for the quiz.